Hello everybody, Retrobeard here. How are you all doing? This is just the start of this new series that I've been mentioning in stream and also on the community tab posts. It's whenever you start a new series, it's difficult to know where to start and how to do it and what format and what's within your ability and scope. So I just thought I'd start off sort of simple, sort of looking at my setup, perhaps painting a few models and discussing the format and where we'll go as I do it, and hopefully it will be relaxing, and anybody who likes the hobby of wargaming and Warhammer and all that will enjoy it, and maybe those who don't enjoy it, it could interest them, or at the very least you might just appreciate it and find it a chill out. So of course always leave your feedback and advice, because that means a lot to me. So I've a bit of a backdrop. I've been outside of the hobby for quite a long time now. I've started and stopped and stopped. I've not really had a regular opponent for many years. I've had occasional games of various systems, usually Warhammer or Age of Sigmar or something like that, or Kings of War. I've had a bit of that and just stopped and started, and it's been difficult to sort of mate the hobby with the time of life I'm at now. When I was in my 20s, it was a lot easier, but, and now I figured if I do some solo stuff, like assembling, painting, playing, hopefully that will help to reignite my passion to the hobby before I lose it forever, because that's kind of where I'm at a crossroads, and I thought my social media platforms could be a really good chance. So hopefully it'll be good. This is a model that I started during the lockdown, the original lockdown of the COVID. I'm not a great painter. I just enjoy the outcome and I enjoy painted models. But I suppose I'm what they'd call tabletop standard at best. But it's not just about how good you are. It's something about if you enjoy it, if there's passion, and of course anybody who plays the hobby would agree. If they've got the average or badly painted models look better on the board than grey or plastic or metal or whatever. So this guy's not finished. He's sort of a work in progress. I wasn't that happy with his colour scheme. For those who don't know or you can't tell, he's a space marine of the Nurgle, which is anybody who's not familiar with the lore. It's a god of disease and famine and decay and all that, and it's sort of space marines that were good that turned to this dark god and became evil. So something else I pretty much nowadays, I say nowadays, but the plan at least is to only paint in Games Workshop's contrast paints, or companies that are going to release something similar. I'd use them because I've got terrible ADHD, so I get bored on one task. So I like the painting to be quite express for my standards. I mean, it's the speed painters who they can do it quick and look good. But I've got a few standard colours, but they're just for special situations. So yeah, this won't be no channel that does. I won't be doing painting tutorials or anything, because I'm not the qualified person to do it. I haven't got an artistic eye, so I need a sort of method that gives me a reasonable result in spite of that, which contrast at least was marketed as that holy grail, wasn't it? I mean, I'm not convinced it is yet, but yeah, so I thought until I get a structure and a format and the correct photography or whatever, or camera angles and things, I just start off with this guy, because there's another reason why, which I'll get to in a short while. So I've done no beyond the setup here. I've done no preparation, so this is all genuine and spontaneous, because I don't know about you guys, but I like raw content. I don't like it where it's all too. You see, the what is it? It's like a fly. See this thing with the bright green wings? That's a fly, and I was never very happy with how it looked. I thought the wings looked too bright. I mean, it's not supposed to look like a real fly, so I might darken the wings. I guess if we get started. So I want a brown. I've not used my contrast paints for a long time, so I've just got to re-familiarise myself. Yeah, so we will have this element of me going through things, but it's real. It's not a rehearsed content where it's perfect, and hopefully I won't have to do any editing because so I'm going to shake it. And these contrast paints, some of them can get quite chalky at the bottom. This one's not that bad. So what I did was I put a ball bearing in there, stainless steel ball bearing. So when I shake it, it's like a spray can or a rattle can, depending on what you say, you know, your term, your words. So give it a shake. I've also got this very handy thing because these contrast paints are notorious for tipping over. So, like I say, if you don't like the camera angles, don't worry. This is just a start because this is sort of me sitting here doing this. When I start playing a game, obviously I'd capture more of the table. But what I don't have is I don't have a person at the camera. I've got to try and find the optimal basic angle. So, or a format that, like, I suppose in a game I can always stop and film segments and piece them together either. But we'll get to that when we get to it because first I need to assemble the models for the game and paint. So a shake, put it in here. This is a godsend if you buy contrast paints, this little holder. Yeah, and I think in the future, obviously, when I do capturing, I'd have it more of the table. But, you know, I wanted to also get my ugly mug in. So I opened it. Now I'm going to select a brush. I don't have a brush prepared. I'm just going to get one. My brushes are of various conditions. Let's have a look. Okay. Excuse me, I like to lick my brushes. I know some people don't, but I'm going to put it in a bit of water so it protects inside the actual brush. I've always heard that using a brush dry can actually damage it. I don't know how true it is, but now I've heard all different opinions on this contrast paint. Some people advocate slapping it on like a wash. Some people say do 2 thin coats, and I'm going to experiment because I've got to admit it, I've had inconsistent results, but I'm a pretty inconsistent fellow, so let's try a bit there. Another thing about contrast paints is you can do something that's normally ill-advised. You can paint straight out of the pot, which I flipping love. So I'm going to try and put some of this brown on to try and make it look, the wings look less bright, because some people like doing their Death Guard or, you know, or Disease God or Nurgle Space Marines with quite bright colours and white colours, but I don't. I see death and decay and disease as a very brown, disgusting thing, but it's only personal opinion, so don't feel that I'm judging you if you've done it otherwise. These contrast paints, why they're so well regarded is they sort of do your shading, your base colour, your shading, and a very minor highlight all in ones, which I don't have an eye for regular highlights. I just can't see it. You know, some of us have got our limits, but just because you're not good at something doesn't mean you shouldn't participate, does it? So, I mean, if you're good at this, you've got any advice, feel free to give it, but I can't guarantee I'll take it, merely because, like I said, I don't have an eye for the art, and people who have it don't understand that. They sort of think, oh God, anyone can do it, practice, but it's not true. All some of us can do is improve with what we've got. Now, no doubt if I had some kind of a one-to-one teacher who could put up with me, yeah, you probably could squeeze a lot more potential out of me, but I don't have that. And internet guides are great, but some things in life, sometimes we need a teacher. I was never happy with this fly's body because I did it in like a black, like a real fly, and it just hasn't got any shading or highlighting, so I might dry brush it with a light grey or something. Now let's have a look. I'm hoping the quality of this recording will be sufficient because I've used my front-facing camera of my phone so that I can see the angles and things, and hopefully show you guys what I'm doing. Well, I guess it's less garish or garish, whatever the word is. Have a look for yourselves. These are the wings. Well, I can't really get a great focus. I'll just get up. I mean, I am expecting perhaps a bit too much from a front-facing camera, although, oh, darn it, there's no focus. I'll have a play with the settings later for future videos. I set this up to try and record from a CRT, and I wonder if that's just skew-whiffed it. Still, I'm happy with it. So we're going to close this up. So this model is quite far along, but I can complete it. At least it's got me starting this project. Got a nice cup of tea down here as well. Hopefully I won't dip my paintbrush in the tea and drink my paint water. I've done that before. I'm sure any hobbyist who's a moron has. Or am I the only one? Now, I want, on this guy, in my progress in the past, I tidied up a few mistakes. These bony protrusions, you can see they look a bit like spines. I've got a few mistakes to correct. It seems I've just noticed that. I'll do it. I promise I will, in the very near future, be cutting models off the sprues and undercoating them and do it. Well, I'll undercoat them off camera, but probably most likely, but then start painting them. So we'll probably have the assembly, the gluing, undercoat them off camera, then paint them on camera. But here's one that's assembled and undercoated ready. Crap, what am I doing? So this will be the next model I do. He's kind of a character. And he's a Chaos Nurgle Marine as well. And when they're done, that's when we'll start doing that. But they're all for a project I've got, which I will go into soon. Like I said, this is a starting point. This isn't, like anything you start, the format's not necessarily, you know, established. This is called Skeleton Contrast Horde. Contrast Skeleton Horde, sorry. And this is great for bone and like papier scrolls and stuff. Once again, it's gone a bit chalky at the bottom, so you need to give it a shake. And the ball bearing's in there. Yep. I've got plenty of experience with this hand action. Has it done it? Yep. There we go. So I'm going to put a lighter mount on so I can control it. Well, I say lighter mount, you never know with me. I have to give myself a lot of tolerance when I paint because I make mistakes, but it's all right. It's not like I say, it's not like I'm positioning myself as a great painter. I've already given you the disclaimer, haven't I? Also, I'm not currently using a microphone. This is just my mobile phone's microphone, so hopefully the sound will be sufficient. If not, I've got my earbuds and I can use the mic on them. But I wanted to try and use what I had because I found that in spite of some of the brilliant quality videos nowadays, sometimes less is more. And I realise, and also probably to some people that's like, what? But other people will know what I mean. I've got 2 daylight bulbs in this room, so it's giving me, I wouldn't say plenty of light, but some light. But anything I'm unsure of, I won't paint, and then I'll investigate later, unless I end up getting myself some kind of a spotlight. But let's do one thing at a time with this, this part of my plans. Yeah, so that's done. So, sorry, the spines are now just completed. There's that little bit I had to do. This guy won't need a lot more. There's something I admit to do, because I can't highlight currently, or maybe ever. I've had mixed results with dry brushing, which is a form of highlighting where you sort of get a paint on a brush, rub it on tissue paper or kitchen towel, whatever, until it's most of the paint's off. Then you run it on the model and it creates a highlight, and it has kind of a chalky effect, which sometimes suits things that are like battle damaged or just want a quick highlight, or fur or things like that, textures. And it has a certain look that I've actually always liked. I always used to fantasize about being a master of dry brushing and doing an entire army like it, but that's a story for another time. You're supposed to use, for the dry brushing, a shade that's perhaps a bit lighter than the native shade. Because I've been trying to use just the contrast range, what I was doing before with mixed results is using the actual, because for this contrast painting you have a special undercoat, and I use one called Grey Sear, which works with the paints quite well apparently. And I was dry brushing all colours with this Grey Sear. Now it's the undercoat, and it's quite a neutral colour, and it's quite good for a lazy dry brush that gives you the basic highlight. Now some good painters once again will be screaming blasphemy, but the way contrast works is it's thicker than a wash, but it's lighter than a proper paint colour. So it uses the undercoat to create the effect, which you can see on here. So it serves as a very, very poor man's basic highlight. So I'm not convinced, I'm not entirely sold on it, but it's all right, you know. Everything I do is subject to change. Now what's the next thing to do? I'm not going to do too much longer though, because this was like an intro to it, or, you know, a starting point. Let's have a look. What next can I do to tidy this guy up that I can actually see and not get wrong? There's not, although the light's quite good in this room, there's not quite enough light like how it is when there's daylight. I might have to invest in some kind of an extra lighting kit at some point, but not today. He's not far from being done, actually. I just need to, like I say, see a few bits that I've not noticed. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go over the games I'm going to play in a minute, in a second. So, not in a minute, but when I get playing. So, just bear with me a second, because I didn't plan on doing this. Sorry about that. I'm not even going to jump cut it. I'm just going to do it like this. You see, I've been umming. One of the reasons why I've delayed doing this is I've been umming and ahhing about what games to play, because I've got a collection of games myself, you know, buying games in future. But what you're going to do in future is irrelevant. You've got to focus on what you're doing now to get started, because there's no point dreaming of the future when you're not even on the ladder, is there? So I've got quite a few games that are open and sealed, but I either don't like them, or they don't have solo mechanics, or they're just not practical for what I want to do, which I'll go into more later. But there is a company called who allow you to use any miniatures you wish. They've got a rule set for anything, or a game for anything, and they're all the games are interconnected and related in their rules with like a commonality. So if you can play one, you can learn them all quite quickly. Just terminologies are different. You can use all your Games Workshop miniatures or anything else, and they've got often one-for-one versions of the armies that you used to play. But the advantage of this company is the basic rules are free, and there's frequent updates. But instead of buying new books that cost a fortune like we do at Games Workshop, you just download or have on your phone or your tablet the latest rules, and the rules are a lot more streamlined. So a game that would take 4 hours with a Games Workshop game, which does not suit my way of life or my concentration these days, would take about 40 minutes to an hour with this company, apparently. I've not played it myself. They're called OnePageRules, and I printed it all off, all the free material. This is possibly an outdated version, because I downloaded it for the summer, because I've got another story which I won't go into too much now, but I tried starting my own board games club in my town in the summer, and I had like no interest, like 1 or 2 people, and even they didn't turn up each week. So it was an appalling failure. It didn't cost me any money because I did it all on the cheap, and I also have access to a hall, thank God, to one of my jobs. So no loss to me, and I wasn't humiliated or upset, because I'm not one for too much pride. One of my few qualities these days. But yeah, this game, it's based on Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team, but it's called Grimdark Future Firefight. But I mean, anybody's uninitiated, you know, but a game like Kill Team, you're buying the game for £100 odd, you're buying your models, anything extra you need, and then every few years you'll get a new edition, new updates. It's if you're not doing it regular with lots of people, it's a bloody expense with very little returns, and often your investments are redundant or obsolete within a year or two, and it's a mugs game I no longer wish to keep up with, especially because I don't get to play. Well, this game, you can use any models you want, from dirt cheap, or if you've got a 3D printer, use your own ones, or you can use existing models that you've had over the years, because there's rule support for classic models, or homemade models, or toy bloody soldiers if you so wish. When new updates happen, like I say, you either download them onto your screen or you print them off. I like printing them off because I like to physically have something. I'm that kind of guy. And I've laminated mine which is hilarious really, because most of these are outdated. But this is what I'm going to use at first, and when I've got the grips to it, I'll download updates and relaminate them, you know. But like I say, a game the kill team will take, I don't know exactly, but say 2 hours, 2.5 hours. With this, 39, 40 minutes. And you've got the exact same game, but far more potential to expand. You know, you can even in this game have multiverses. You could have Imperial Stormtroopers led by Darth Vader versus Space Marines of Warhammer, or you could have, and also this interconnects with other rule sets like their own version of Warhammer 40,000. But because, like I said earlier, the rule sets all have a commonality, the learning curve is tiny. So you can go, oh, let's expand it to Grimdark Future, the standard one that's not a firefight, where it's a full-scale war. Your learning curve is minuscule, and then you're playing in a big war. And they've got a fantasy version, they've got a skirmishy version, a bit like Games Workshop's Warcry, and they've got a medium one, which is like Age of Sigmar, and they've got a regiments one, like Warhammer Fantasy Battles. But all of the races, plus other races, are all in one world together. So you could have the Stormcast Eternals or Sigmarines versus the High Elves of Ulthuan or whatever. It's just, or you could have, if you really wanted to be clever, you could have the army from Narnia versus the knights from Kingdom of Heaven, whatever. As long as you've got the imagination and the models, and you can appropriate a rule set. And if you join the Patreon, you get STLs for 3D printed, you get far more advanced rules to enhance it all. You get a special army calculator where you can make your own armies that are legal to use because they're within a calculator. So it's a bit, so in a way you could make Space Marines that are authentic to the background fluff, you know, that actually are one man walking tanks if you want to. I mean, you've got to be careful because too many prats got this calculator. They could then make Stormtroopers that are as strong as Space Marines, and it could get ridiculous. But the idea is there, assuming you've got, either you're playing on your own, which I'll be doing, or you've got friends who have got a head on their shoulders. Yes, that's something else. These rule sets come with full solo rules, so you can play scenarios on your own. So playing with yourself has never been so much fun with this. Yeah, so you've got it's quite a bit of material, but the basic game is on a couple of pages. But the material just gives you breakdowns and things like your army lists and stuff. What I've got is their version of the Primaris Space Marines and their version of the Nurgle Space Marines, which is these green guys. So, yeah. Well, I'm gonna call it there because I only wanted to primer it, and I think we've already done nearly 23 minutes. So, I will do another one of these recordings real soon. But it was good to get started, however modest it is. I've got a little bit of paint on a model, so I've actually physically made that symbolic start and got my setup out. So hopefully you'll enjoy this and you'll stick around me, but I'll keep on doing this. So take care, and I'll see everybody on stream in the near future, because the retro gaming side of my channel isn't going away. Things on my channel will be in flux and come and go and grow and shrink and all that, but stuff's like the gaming won't go. It's just going to find its place. So, with that said, take care of yourselves. And just to say, the Retro Beard format is now on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, have minor presence, Instagram, and of course YouTube, which of course you know YouTube because you're here now. So yeah. So I'm going to go. So take care of yourselves. This is Retro Beard signing off. Cheers, and I hope to see you all again soon. Bye.